Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about my picks and predictions for Best Picture at the Oscars this year. And in this video is an impromptu top 10 list for the year for me. So, to kick things off, at number 10, I have Molly's Game. Aaron Sorkin's directorial debut was incredible. The writing was some of his best I've seen pretty much from his entire career. The acting across the board was on point. The story was really interesting, even though there was one plot element and storyline I think they kind of could have gotten rid of. But other than that, I have pretty much no real major flaws for the film, and it's insanely good, and check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Now, my number 9 film I thought was going to be atrocious. I honestly, going into this, I was expecting to hate it. I was expecting that this would be the only big awards movie that I would hate, because there's usually one every year that I just detest. And the trailers I thought were terrible, but Phantom Thread I ended up loving. This film was so different than what the trailers made it out to seem, and the relationship that the two leads had and the back and forths that they had were incredible. And I loved the fact that it kept you questioning which one of them you actually thought was more in the right at any given moment, and it didn't make anything too black or white throughout almost the entire film. The only flaw I have with it is that some of the dialogue was a little on the nose, but other than that, it's incredible. At number 8, I have Lady Bird. Lady Bird is a great film. It's a great coming-of-age story that is really sweet, really uplifting, and has enough emotional punch to it when it needs to. The acting across the board is fantastic, and the characters are really well developed and really well thought out to the point where you can relate with pretty much everyone in the film. At number 7, I have The Shape of Water. This film is a very gutsy film where you need to take a massive leap of faith to accept the premise on its own. So the fact that it works and it's getting this much acclaim is mind-boggling to me, and it feels very natural, and the supernatural elements that they have in it feel very grounded in some sort of reality, even though they never really explain it. On a technical aspect, this film is fantastic. The score is probably my favorite of the year. Cinematography is great. Del Toro's direction of it in general is just amazing, and the acting and characters are also equally as strong. At number 6, I have 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This film was an intense character piece, and it was incredible in that aspect. The characters stood out, the directing and the stylistic elements that McDonough put into this film, while it's stylistically similar to his 2 previous works, this felt like the most cohesive and the most honed in story that he's told so far, and it's the culmination of all of the best parts of his works in his last 2 movies put into one. At number 5, I have probably my biggest surprise on this list, It. I'm not a big horror fan, but this movie is so well constructed and it bends genres so well. The scares hit, the creepy imagery just gives this haunting feeling to it. The overall tone for the entire film makes it very tense, yet it has levity to it. And the humor, mostly from Finn Wolfhard, by the way, who's incredible in it, the humor pretty much hits for the entire time, and it's peppered throughout in the right ways to make the tone consistent, yet make it not feel as depressing as it possibly could have, and make it feel like a fun, entertaining time at the movies. I feel like It, to me, is one of the most fun I've had in a movie in a long time. At number 4, I have Call Me By Your Name. This film easily could have gone wrong in so many different ways, but it didn't. The central relationship works on all fronts, and it feels naturally progressing throughout the entire thing, and it feels very realistic in pretty much everything. And the acting across the board elevates the material so much more than what it could have been. And this is also one of the best endings of a film this year. At number 3, I have a smaller movie that not many people have seen, Good Time. Good Time, directed by the Safdie brothers, was an intense thrill ride the entire way through, and it never let go. The main character, played by Robert Pattinson, who gives probably the best performance of his career in this film, is not a good person at all, but you still relate to him and you still are rooting for him to succeed in the one core aspect that actually makes him a good character and a good person in one part, which he loves his brother. But other than that, he does despicable things the entire time, and he's just cruel to people unnecessarily, yet he's still a compelling protagonist. At number 2, I have another thrill ride, Dunkirk. I think this is Nolan's best film to date. It is so intense the entire way through, and the tension and the general tone and mood of the film is so gripping, and it enthralls you the entire way through. And while some of the main complaints have been, oh, there wasn't enough character development and I didn't really care about the characters, I think that was probably a plus because it made a greater commentary on war as a whole. And whenever it needed to, the movie delved into the characters and the acting actually stood out from a lot of the people. And I think this movie had probably my favorite scene of any film this year, and it was this scene in a upside down boat at the end where there was this great moment with Harry Styles who knew he could act, but this scene in particular is probably my favorite scene of any movie this year. And now, my number 1 favorite movie of 2017 is Get Out, which was the second film I saw this year. Jordan Peele's directorial debut has so much social commentary wrapped into like 5 genres of films all thrown together. And the reveal of what's going on is really well paced throughout the entire film, and it keeps you guessing and on your toes throughout it. Daniel Kaluuya and Catherine Keener are incredible, and the comedy from the TSA agent best friend, I'm forgetting the actor's name, is also really strong, and it works on all accords. Everything in this film works in the way that they intended to. The off-putting stuff is off-putting. The humorous stuff is humorous. And the just endearing character moments really work. Now, on to my predictions. These 8 films, I think there are going to be 8 nominees this year. I could be wrong, but it's probably going to be 8 or 9. But these 8 films, I think, are probably going to get the nominations. So the 8th most likely, I think, is The Big Sick. And I love this movie. This just eked out of my top 10 list for the year. This film lately has been getting a lot of attraction. It got the Producers Guild nominations. It's been getting a lot of just buzz around it. And I feel like there's probably an outside chance that it gets a nomination. At number 7, I have The Post. While this is probably what I think is the weakest film that'll get nominated, it's Spielberg, it's Hanks, it's Streep. What else is there to say? And it's a well-told story. It's just not the story that I think was the most captivating that they could have told within the context of the premise. At number 6, I have Dunkirk. Dunkirk is getting a lot of buzz in all of the technical aspects of it. And I feel like as a picture overall, there are hardcore fans of this film that will make sure that it gets at least a nomination for Best Picture. At number 5, I have Lady Bird. While Lady Bird won the Golden Globe for Best Comedy, and it's been doing really well in the award season, I feel like the buzz has been slightly dying off for this film. While I still think it's a great movie, and I still think it's definitely going to get nominated, I don't think it's as much of a frontrunner to actually win the award as it might have been, say, 3 weeks ago. At number 4, I have Get Out. And I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that Get Out is going to get a Best Picture nomination this year. I mean, probably a month ago it was an outside shot, but it's been getting every major nomination, and there's just been a whole lot of buzz surrounding it, which is great because it came out in, I think, February, and like it never happens that January or February movies ever get nominated. And the fact that it has resonated this well throughout the entire year to get the nominations is just a testament to its quality. And I had it as my number 1 film of the year, so I desperately hope that it gets nominated. At number 3, I think is Call Me By Your Name. Guadagnino's film has been getting a lot of buzz, mostly for their performances, but I think it's pretty safe to say that it'll get nominated for Best Picture, because overall, it's a great package, and it's just been getting a lot of momentum going for it. At number 2, I'm going to say 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I would have had this lower on my list, but it won the Golden Globe for Best Drama, and even though the Golden Globes don't mean a whole lot compared to the Oscars, they still do sometimes tell what films will be on the Oscar list, coming out. It's gotten all of the other more reputable ones like the Producers Guild Award, the BAFTAs, Critics' Choice Award nominations. So I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that it'll at least get nominated. And it has an outside shot to win. I still don't think it's going to win, but it still has an outside shot. And the film that I think probably at this point is the best bet to win and is easily getting a nomination is The Shape of Water. I mean, Del Toro is probably made his best film at this one. It's between this and Pan's Labyrinth. I go back and forth for me, but I think it's been getting so much attention and it's been winning pretty much everything except for the Golden Globes. And there's just a whole lot of momentum behind it, and everyone seems to be absolutely loving this film. And I just would be utterly shocked if it didn't get nominated. So those were my picks and predictions for Best Picture. My director and screenplay ones and Best Lead Actor ones should be coming out in the next few days. Hopefully I can get it out before Tuesday actually happens. And on Tuesday I will be doing my live reaction to the nominations, so stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching.